Hey fam, welcome to Life More Abundantly, the podcast where we talk Black health like we talk everything else, real, out loud, and with love. I'm Dr. Eboni Haynes.
And I'm Dr. Tynisha Camae Drennon. We've got a lot to talk about today, so let's get into today's episode.
All right. Welcome back, T.
So glad to be back in the seat on today.
Yes, it's so good to have you back. Hope your family is doing as well as can be despite the circumstances. But we and our listening audience are very happy to have you back in the seat this morning.
Thank you so much. I'm sure we're going to get to a whole episode on grief and what the process is. So thank you all for your thoughts and prayers as we go through the process. Okay, well, let's get into it today.
All right. So I know you have probably heard about this drama that's going on between Morehouse and Tuskegee.
Crazy.
So for our listeners, if you have not heard about it, let me just share with you what's going on. So back on January 31st, Morehouse and Tuskegee's men's basketball teams played each other.
Right.
At the end of the game, it appears that Morehouse's football team joined the basketball team in the handshake line, which is against the rules of the conference.
Right.
And so the coach for Tuskegee approached the police officers to let them know that this was a violation of conference policy. And instead of the officers getting the crowd under control, they detained the coach, Coach Taylor, for about 30 minutes. And so this has created all kinds of drama. So any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, something that's supposed to be fun, even though, there are a lot of things that, come from sports, money and all the things. It's still supposed to be a fun activity, especially for people who are in the crowd and spectating. African Americans have a poor history of being detained basically unlawfully. Our civil rights, his civil rights continues to be violated. The damage is already done in terms of his reputation. The trauma of, being detained, especially in a public setting, has also been done. And so, he's requesting an apology, but an apology, doesn't eradicate this whole scenario. And so I hate that this happened, especially amongst HBCUs. I don't know when it's going to get better. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, and Morehouse has really taken some heat too because it took them so long to respond. And then even in the response by President Bowman at Morehouse, it also seemed like excuses for the delays. But then also a good point that he made was that it felt like to them that the case, if you will, had been adjudicated without, significant contributions from Morehouse in terms of witness statements and that kind of thing. So I do feel like this is going to be something that continues to play out. But I do think you're right. Coach Benji Taylor from Tuskegee, this will be a situation that follows him, for forever. It was videotaped. It was on social media and all of that. So, yeah.
Now let me ask you, because this is the part I'm having a difficulty following. It was the actual police that detained Coach Taylor, right? Or was it Morehouse security?
I think it was the police department on Morehouse's campus. So Morehouse's police.
So then help us understand, how is Morehouse responsible for an apology, for taking accountability for this, besides the fact that their team joined in the line, which is against the rules? But how are they responsible for the detainment?
So those police officers are employees of Morehouse.
That's the clarity.
Okay. Yeah. And then the other thing that frustrates me about this is that, at least according to the president's statement, he was there. And granted, I understand that when a game is going on, all of the post-game activities are happening, that it's easy to not see everything that's happening at your institution or in that venue at the moment. And I totally get that. I am questioning where Morehouse's coach was. Where was Larry Dixon in all of this? Because we
Mm.
don't really hear any comment coming from him. And at the end of the day, this was Coach Dixon's team, right?
Right, so
He
he
was
should
the
have got
head
the
coach.
situation under control for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. But at the end of the day, for me, our HBCU administrators have to remember that these are, yes, they are adults, but
They
if you really understand
young.
brain development, right,
Right.
they are very young adults.
Yeah,
They're still learning how
right,
they're supposed to show up in the world.
right, and I'm sure the team thought it was fun.
Yeah, right. So we definitely have to be a lot more vigilant about making sure that we're creating safe spaces for everyone who comes on our campus, even if they are a rival team or the opponent. We definitely still have to be good role models and make sure that we're stepping up and showing our young people how we expect them to act. And I think the other thing that has taken everyone by surprise with this is the fact that it's Morehouse, right?
Mhm,
Morehouse
mhm.
College and all of
Held to a
the
higher standard. Mhm.
exactly. And so for this to have occurred on Morehouse's campus is pretty unfortunate, particularly since they try to hold their students to a higher standard. But to be honest, it's not acceptable anywhere. Doesn't matter what university
Right,
you attend.
and you pointing out that to me, I think brings up a sub-subject of, um Black people policing Black people when we know
Mhm.
that we have a difficulty with white people policing
Mhm.
Black people. So I think that's a subtopic. Well, just to make our viewers aware, the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, also known as the SIAC, fined Morehouse College following the post-game incident. So there were some consequences for the actions of the students.
Mhm. Yeah, so more to come on this. We'll definitely keep you all posted.
Yeah.
And so yeah. All right.
Right. We got this week in Black History, as I like to call it, Blackity Black 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 Month.
That's right.
When we gonna talk about the Grammys, but when I saw Kendrick Lamar show up with that Black Power pick in his head,
Mhm.
I was
Mhm.
like, Blackity Black Black Black, come on here. All right. The Negro League, the first organized professional league for African American baseball players, was founded on February 13th, 1920. They were doing an
Mhm.
amazing job. And then who got recruited? Jackie Robinson, which split the door open for us to take over. But Jackie Robinson was recruited from the National Negro League, and that opened the door for integration into professional baseball. Yay!
Yay. As we told you last week, we were going to be discussing Alzheimer's and dementia care this week. And so part of the reason why we're doing that is because this week is actually Alzheimer's and Dementia Care Education Week.
Whew.
So beginning on Valentine's Day, I know that's a mouthful, right? So beginning on the 14th, Valentine's Day, and extending through February the 21st, there is a concerted effort happening all across the country to raise awareness of Alzheimer's and dementia, and to also bring attention to the need for education for caregivers, whether those are professional caregivers or those who are connected to individuals who are impacted by dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So, T, you know anybody that's dealing with Alzheimer's or dementia?
Well, I work in healthcare, and so I
Mm-hmm.
come across a lot of patients who have been officially diagnosed with Alzheimer's and then fall into the dementia category.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, there are family members. My grandmother had dementia, a form of dementia. And, there are people that we just unofficially diagnose that
Mm-hmm.
just fit into the category. What about you? Do you know anyone personally?
I have some friends whose parents are dealing with or have dealt with one of the dementia-related illnesses. So, yeah, I definitely do. I've been around lots of individuals who are dealing with dementia. The other thing that I have been fortunate to do that is related is at my previous church, I led the effort to ensure that we were a dementia-friendly congregation. And so
Awesome.
that opened my eyes a lot to the things that we don't think about when it comes to providing
Mhm.
for caregivers, nor for individuals who are dealing with dementia. And so I think this is a really important topic and very timely one.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought up making a church a dementia-friendly space. And so, as we talk about next week, caregiving, I think that's an important topic to integrate
Hmm.
how we can make safe spaces for caregivers. So, I love that you did that
Hmm.
at your local church.
Well, in case you all didn't know, Alzheimer's is the sixth leading cause of death in the United States. And back in 2022, there were some researchers from Columbia University who actually found that 1 in 10 adults here in the US who were over the age of 65 actually have dementia. And they also found that about another 22% have some form of mild cognitive impairment.
Wow.
And yeah, it seems like since then, there's really been this mad dash to try to determine what the root causes of dementia are. And so we see a lot more research, a lot more, I guess, public information about dementia.
Hmm.
And so we also, because of that, I think are realizing that we have steadily increasing rates of dementia related diseases in the Black community. And I was reading that Black people are twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's and dementia compared to white individuals.
We're always told we get everything more.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're probably less likely to receive diagnosis. Matter of fact, the
Mm-hmm.
statistic shows 35% less. I would guesstimate that it's more than that. But I am glad that research is being done. I wish there were more dollars contributed to that because right now there's no cure.
Mm-hmm.
There can be some cognitive treatments, some behavior treatments, but for the most part, is just all right, you got it. Go home, be
Mm-hmm.
safe. So,
Right. Yeah. So while you were away, I had the opportunity to chat with Dr. Fayron Epps about dementia and Alzheimer's. And so why don't we take a listen? So joining me today is Dr. Fayron Epps. She is the Karen and Ron Herman Endowed Chair in Caregiver Research at UT Health San Antonio. Welcome, Dr. Epps.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
It's good to have you. And just so that the listeners know, Fayron and I have known each other for, I guess, about 5 years now. We met at Duke at the Spirituality and Religion Research Training Program. And during that awesome experience, we had an opportunity to chat. And one of the things that she mentioned was that she was engaged in this work to increase the number of dementia friendly congregations. And that piqued my interest. And so we've been connected ever since. So I would, Fayron, just like for you to open up and tell us a little bit more about you and your work and what got you into this work around Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah, sure, sure. Yes. And wow, that was like 5, 6 years ago. Oh my goodness. When I was a little girl that had a dream. That's when it started. And so just to share with you all just a little bit more about my background, first and foremost, I am a woman of faith. And I just want to share that because God orders my steps, not just personally, but
Yes.
professionally as well. And I have a background, I have a PhD in nursing, and my work started off I don't have a personal story saying, oh, somebody personally, directly, like my mom or grandparent was impacted by dementia. But what I have is shocking reality. When I was
Mm-hmm.
doing my postdoc studies, y'all, I noticed when I was picking up literature how Black communities were disproportionately impacted by dementia.
Okay.
And I was a whole nurse in these streets, is what I tell people. A
Mm-hmm.
whole
Mm-hmm.
nurse. And I had no clue. No clue. And this was about 10 years ago,
Okay.
a little over 10. And I just didn't even know. that this was attacking our community. And I really thought that it was, not true. And that's when I started on the mission to find families, Black families that were on this journey. And what I found was it was some of my girlfriends that I was hanging out with. I'm originally from New Orleans. And so I found these families in the southeast region of Louisiana. And it was folks that I worked with. Their father-in-law, and it was just like, wait, these are people I see every day or every week. And they were going through this and just had no clue because we are such a hush-hush community, right? And there's so much stigma and I think lack of knowledge or misunderstanding about it. And so that's what really got me started. When I seen this, I said, you know what? I really want to learn about it, but then also spread awareness and making sure that these families have resources. So my whole I can't even say my professional life. It's just my whole life. It's really about serving our communities and improving quality of life for families that are on this journey, particularly in the Black community. And I work with churches, faith communities to build up their capacity so they can serve their parishioners and community at large by creating these dementia-friendly congregations, dementia-friendly faith spaces. And so that's the work, but also my research is developing and testing innovative caregiver psychoeducation models. So I make sure that our caregivers, care partners are equipped as well. And I have some religious or faith-based interventions because I think that's so important. We think about all this other stuff and we're not thinking about their spirit. How are they still spiritually connecting the person living with dementia, but also their care partner and their family members. So, I developed tools, worship services that I put in a research framework to kind of test it and show that this work. I have a religious toolbox that families could get to show, again, how this can improve their well-being, but also improve the quality of life for that person living with dementia.
Okay.
That was a mouthful. All right.
Yeah, but all good stuff, all things that we need to hear about. So let's tackle this topic. I often hear people use Alzheimer's and dementia interchangeably. Are they the same thing? Are they different? What do we need to understand about them?
Yeah, so that's really good because I'm also guilty of using it interchangeably, but it's not the same thing. And so if you heard me during the intro, I was using dementia intentionally because that is the big umbrella term. And so dementia is a broad term that covers various brain conditions that impact thinking, memory, and behavior. Alzheimer's disease is the most common type of dementia. And so that's why you hear people just say Alzheimer's disease or they use those words interchangeably. But there are over 100 types of dementia. So 100 type of brain conditions that affect thinking, memory, and behavior, y'all. And that's where we all get lost and confused about. So remember, dementia is the big umbrella type. Some people may, I'm not saying compare it to cancer, but they look at how cancer is this big, broad term, but you have several different types of cancer, correct? Also, if you look at sports is a big umbrella term. You have several types of sports that's out there. So that's how I want y'all to look at dementia. That is a broad term. There's so many different types. And so when you get a diagnosis of dementia, it's not, oh, I got a diagnosis of dementia. I'm going to walk away. Now you have to drill down, if you can, what type of dementia, because each dementia has a different patho behind it. And some signs and symptoms are more pronounced. And like Lewy body, they may have hallucinations a little bit more than someone who has vascular dementia. And vascular dementia, Eboni, is what, well, all of them is in the Black community and communities of color, but vascular dementia is more prominent because that is related to the cardiovascular diseases that we are seeing. The hypertension, diabetes, chronic kidney disease, strokes, high cholesterol, AFib, just all of these things that really interferes with the blood flow in your body. We just don't think about how that's interfering with the blood flow in our brain, and that leads to vascular dementia. But we have Lewy body dementia that's on the rise in the Black community, frontal temporal dementia as well. There's something called mixed dementia, y'all. That's where it's just like, I don't know, you got a little bit of this and that. But you can start off with one and it can progress into another one. And so it's just, you're like, how do they find out? And it's just a lot of self-report from the person living with dementia, from that family. And they do a lot of tests. They call it a battery of tests, some screening forms that they do, but they also can do imaging as well.
So I think that many people maybe underestimate how common dementia-related diseases are in the U.S. I was reading that 7 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's. That's just the one type that you mentioned, right? And that is on the rise, and it's expected to hit nearly 13 million people by 2050, which isn't far from now. So what is it about the Black community in particular that is causing these rates to increase so steadily? You talked about vascular dementia. What is the connection between African Americans, their health, and vascular dementia specifically?
Yeah, well, I think if we go back to some of those conditions or illnesses I mentioned, all these disparities with these illnesses, they exist in the Black community. And why do they exist? And it goes beyond just, oh, it runs in my family, right? It goes way beyond that. It is our lifestyle, our eating habits. Also, where you live can impact that, right? Because if you're not living in where there is a store that sells healthy foods, you're just going to go with what's there as well. Pollution, again, it is so many factors that we have been dealing with as a community, a Black community, for centuries, right? And those things just carry from generation to generation. And if we are not fully understanding how that impacts all parts of our body, then it just keeps going. So really, when we're out there, I am really educating on, it's not just dementia. It is, what are those things that put you at risk? And it's more than just, oh, as I get older, I'm at risk. Yes, I get that. Women, I'm at risk. You know, those are general things. But when you look in the Black community, it's those, again, the illnesses that we've been plagued with for so long.
Right.
And, you know, some of it is on us, because some of us, oh, whatever, I feel good. I ain't doing that. You know, we got to be honest, some of that.
Right.
But also some of it is on the healthcare, or the system, not just the healthcare system, just how the system is set up. And so we just got to be mindful of that and educate ourselves. And now we have to do better. We have to be advocates for our own health, advocates for the health of our families.
So if you are a caregiver, what are some of the top things that as a caregiver you should be doing if your loved one has been diagnosed with dementia?
Number one, get education.
Okay.
Well, you know what? It's, you know, Eboni, let me say this. I think I don't want us to make this assumption that every family is the same, right? I have engaged with so many families that have various dynamics. So I'm just going to say, in general, let's talk about maybe the top 3 things or 4 things, because everybody's in a different space. But number one is, if you don't know anything about this, look for programs that can teach you. Go to education sessions, call the Alzheimer's Association. And if you know if it's a particular specific type of dementia, then most of them have associations. Frontal temporal, FTD has an association, that's frontal temporal dementia. Lewy body has an association. So most of them have associations. You want to go there, get that education. Next, I need the caregiver to deal with the diagnosis themselves. Because it's not just the person living with the dementia that's got to go through this diagnosis. The caregiver care partner does as well. And there are stages of grief that start with a diagnosis.
Okay.
And so, again, it's not just the person living with dementia. It's that caregiver that's going to have to go through the anger, the denial, all the different stages of grief. And so recognizing that. The next one is being proactive. And so as you're learning about the things about dementia. And within that, they'll be telling you, okay, now look at finances and legal. And many times we just wait until something happened to respond. But I would tell caregivers, you have to be proactive and put things in place. So if that is going and get a free consultation with a lawyer to just look at the estate, what is going on with if it's your spouse, a family member, your parent, so you can have things in place and plan ahead.
Okay.
Right? Going to looking through the finances, having a conversation. And this doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, but understanding the finances and making sure that someone is on the account just to monitor it, because we don't know what stage they're at. But if it's in the early stages, you need to be on account just to monitor, because there is nothing that says this person is only going to be in the early stages 3 months or 3 years. There's nothing that says that. You don't know when they may progress.
Okay.
So you have to be proactive. And then the other thing is, prioritize self-care. Even way in the beginning, you have to make sure that you take care of yourself. I think those that are listening probably done heard stories. Eboni, you probably done heard stories how the caregiver, they're taking care of their loved one and doing an amazing job, and they end up passing away before their caregiver, because they forgot to go to the doctor. They bring in their mom to the doctor, their spouse, and they forgot to go to the
That's
doctor. Right. I know a wife, she ended up having a brain tumor. And then by the time they realized, it was stage 4. So y'all, don't feel guilty when you have to carve out time for yourself. And you need to start doing that in the beginning, because you need to be here. You fussing, I hear this a lot. No one can do like I could do, and you fussing. But baby, if you don't take care of yourself, they gonna have to do it anyway.
Do it anyway. That's right.
But those are like the key things I want family to think about. And also, I would say one last thing is safety. And that's also being proactive, right? But thinking about safety, if your loved one still lives by themselves, what are those things you can put in place for them to continue to be safe and living independently? If they live with you still, what do you need to do in the kitchen, right? Again, because we don't know that day when they may forget to turn the stove off, right? And so having cameras, and it's not you're hiding them, you can have cameras in a house for when that day comes, putting door chimes, putting air tags, certain places for when the day comes, because dementia is a progressive disease, or all these different types that cause types of dementia, they're progressive. So they just don't stay where they are. It's going to progress. So your early stage, middle stage, then you get to the late stage if you use the stage model that the Alzheimer's Association uses. So you're going to progress. And the medicines that are out there, Eboni, they're medicines that's been around for years. They manage the signs and symptoms, which can for family look like, oh, my person is getting better. The disease, it's good. It stopped. No, the progression of the disease is still happening. It's just managing the signs and symptoms, these behaviors that was probably worsening. There is new medicine that's out, and they in the abs. That's how you know it's the new medicine. And they are shown to slow down. So they're the first drugs that actually have evidence where they slow down the progression of Alzheimer's disease.
Okay.
Not the other dementia.
Right.
So y'all remember, we just learned Alzheimer's disease is just a type of dementia.
Right.
And you have to be in the early stages. They have to catch it early. So is this good for the Black community? What do we get? We tend to get vascular dementia. Number 2, we usually don't get an early diagnosis.
Right.
We stay in denial for years, sometimes 10 years. We're in denial. We're really in denial, because as an adult child, you don't want to change your life. So you see things happening with your parent, but you just gonna ignore it because you're like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
That's right.
And so we miss the window of some of these treatments and programs that are out there. And so that's that. I'm gonna pause.
No, this is such good information. And there are so many nuggets that you dropped that I just want to highlight, because I think that for our communities, these are problematic historically. And so we need to be honest and we need to talk through them. So you mentioned having the conversation about finances early, right? In the early stages of dementia, so that families can be ready when the progression happens, right? And so that's, I think, very difficult in Black families for us to talk about money and finances and who's going to be on my bank account, right? So how do we even start that conversation with our loved one, especially a loved one who may be very private about their finances?
Whew, I don't even know, Ebony. You should have these conversations if you have an aging parent, period, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even I just think about my situation. My brother got so mad at me when I wanted to kind of bring this up, because you're gonna have that family member that's gonna say, "Oh, you just want all of mama money. You want all of dad's money," And I think when we have to lay it out and really bring in facts. And you have to be okay if you're not the person that's on that account.
Okay.
Just saying, hey, this is what's happening. And even though I'm in Texas now, I have been in Georgia for so many years. And we work with the Georgia Bureau of Investigators. I think that's what it's called, GBI.
GBI. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But oh my goodness, such a great resource. They talked about all the fraudulent behavior that is going on against our older adults, right? And so that's the facts that you bring in. It's not the fact that, hey, mom, one day you're not gonna be able to manage your account. No, it's not that. It is, look what's happening. They have people that's losing their retirement because of just one question they answer, and it gives someone access to their account. Showing these things, that may be a good approach. To bring those facts, show them how people are losing retirement, how these scammers are really getting, they're sophisticated. They are pro at this, and you really want to monitor that. Hey, we just want to make sure everything is good, so you don't lose your retirement, that someone doesn't come and take your house away from you. Because those are the things that are happening. I want to give you the families an urgency to start having these conversations if there is a diagnosis of dementia, because if you wait, you're not going to have no passwords, because they're not going to remember, right? You're not going to have a relationship with their bank. So the bankers are not going to help you. So you need to just kind of start early, and it may not even be getting on anyone's account. It may just, mom, let me just visit the bank with you. And so then that banker can start seeing you, and you're developing a relationship, and that really is good for rural communities. Very good.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You really can get, good relationships with grocery store bankers and stuff like that. So
that's right.
Yeah, that's just one approach. I'm not saying that's going to work for everyone,
right.
But I will tell you, don't give up. So like in my situation, my brother stormed out the room, but guess what? He came back. Right. And so also check your own emotions, and just expect people to be, oh no, because they got to go through these stages of grief too. And so, but just be persistent. And as you learn, what needs to happen. And it may not happen that day. It may happen 3 months later, but you want to be persistent and keep your emotions in check. Cause y'all know when we get passionate about it, I'm going to call it passion. When we get passionate, nothing happens.
Right.
Nothing happens.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so that's good. So we definitely need to be proactive about having those conversations about finances. What about respite? What about caregivers who need a break?
Yeah, I think that goes back to when we was talking about self-care. That's where respite comes in. And respite is when you're receiving a break. For those that may not be familiar with the term. It's a someone is or something is allowing you to take rest. Right. And I just want to let y'all know it can come in time where you get time, to do something, or it can be financial respite as well, because we do have to address that caregiving is expensive. It is. And I tell families you need to really seek out respite or accept that if someone is coming to give you a break, it is so, so important. And you want to prepare for it. So if you have someone coming in your home, a friend that say, hey, I'm going to give you 2 hours, 3 hours, you take it. It don't mean you sit in a room with them, y'all. No, you can do that any other time. But this is 3 hours for you if you go in your room and take a nap, or if you go to the hairstylist, wherever you want to do, you take that. But I want you to be prepared. So have a list of things that they can do with your family member that may be living with dementia. You want to have that ready. So it's going to take some preparation. So they're just not sitting and looking, right? And then you may feel a little comfortable at that. And then some people may be like, well, how we find respite? So it depends on what state you're in, what city. I would tell you, Tennessee has a great program where they give so many hours of respite for free, right? You just got to dig in Georgia. I mean, I'm not sure where most of your listeners are from, but each state, they have respite programs available. And I would tell you to reach out to you may hear this term AAA, but it's your area agencies on aging. I think I said that right.
That's right.
And reaching out to them to see what respite programs are available. Or you can Google adult day centers in your area. And some of these things you have to pay for. Average maybe from $40 to $60 a day. When you do engage with them, you ask if they have scholarships. Despite your income, I don't care. You may think you're a millionaire, y'all still ask for scholarships because that money going to dwindle down. And so, you ask if they do have scholarships available. They may not, right? And I'm now working with churches where we have a altar respite pastoral care program that we're doing. So respite it exists. You just have to look for it. There are also places that give you scholarships, so you can pay someone. So Call for Caring, it's callforcaring.com, I believe, or .org. You can apply for a $200 respite scholarship. And so they will give you the $200 and you can pay. I had someone, they paid someone, they were able to fly to Chicago for their birthday. That just by having that $200 just gave them that break for that little bit. And I'm trying to think other programs. Like I say, each region, state, city is a little bit different. In your state that is reaching out to your AAA first and to get a list of the programs. And if anyone's in the Atlanta area, you can go to empowerline.org. And they have a wonderful website and they have abundance of resources just there, but you can still call them. But I love their website, the way they set it up.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And we'll make sure that those links are in the show notes for this episode, so people can get to those resources quickly. There was a conference that you had here in Atlanta a couple years ago. You mentioned the ALTER program. So the dementia-friendly congregations is part of that ALTER program. And one of the things that for me was very heartbreaking during that conference was to hear from the kids, the teenagers, who were serving as caregivers for their family members. And so often you think that caregivers are adults, they're people who are, like the sandwich generation, the people who are taking care of their parents as well as taking care of their kids. But here you had high schoolers who were taking care of their grandmothers, their parents. And so what would you say for any of the high schoolers that might be listening who are caregivers? Do you have any special insight for them?
Yeah, I think these words will go for their parents and for them, right? But what that was eye opening for you, Ebony. Guess what? It was eye opening for me as well.
Mm.
I talk about intergenerational programming, but until they got on that stage and they
Mm-hmm.
shared how they're in this household and they are going through this as well,
Mm-hmm.
it was like, whoa. And then I thought about back in the days when I was in college and I used to go home on a break and take care of, my grandparents. I was like, oh, shucks, I was a whole caregiver and didn't even know it. And so this is more common than not.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we actually have a youth track. We have a youth
Oh, good.
council of Black and brown youth that are in these households with their grandparents or even their parents from the
Mm-hmm.
ages of 12 to 24 that are sharing their stories with us to make sure that our programming is relevant. And what I want to tell you, the youth that may be listening that's in the car with their parents, we hear you, we see you. And I want to apologize because I know many times you feel unheard. No one
Mm-hmm.
sees you because traditionally in the Black family, you just do what I say. Don't
Right.
ask any questions.
Mm-hmm.
But parents, we can't keep doing that because we may be causing more trauma.
Right.
Because they are going to get water for their grandparent, their nana, or sit with them while you're cooking, but their nana who just loved them so and they adored and all of that now is changing before them. And we're
Mm-hmm.
not taking the time to educate them on what's happening. So now their nana may be cursing them out,
And they don't
maybe
understand it.
spitting on them.
Mm-hmm.
And we just caught up in our own world as parents because we just fixing this dinner. You just sit right there. I don't care. You sit there is what we're saying. But we don't understand what that may be doing to their mental. Because we're not explaining to them the condition that their nana has. And so what we've been seeing is as these young adults, as they're becoming young adults, that's trauma that they're
Right.
dealing with now because now the person that loved them so much, well, they still love them, just is presented in a different manner, and they don't understand. Now it's telling them they're worthless, spitting at
Mm-hmm.
them. Imagine what that's doing to our Black youth. So
Mm-hmm.
now they're getting to 20 and 21, and we may ask, why are they having these behaviors? Why are they
Right.
doing this? And we don't think that they've been in a household. We never took time to educate them. And so again, I want to apologize for that and let y'all know we're going to change that together. We're going to make sure that you all are seen and heard. And we're going to make sure that you are also equipped with the knowledge and the skills so you can properly help your parents or to help your grandparents. And so that's what we're doing now. And with this summit, so as we wrap up, I'll make sure everybody knows if you're in Atlanta, if you're not even in the Atlanta area, I want y'all to come through. But our summit is April the 23rd to the 25th. This year we'll be in Atlanta, actually East Point at Impact Church, and we have a youth track that the youth design for themselves. And we welcome you all. Youth tickets are just $35 and it covers everything. And they have their own concert.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so they'll be with
Okay.
us, but then they will separate because they do things that they don't
A
want to
little differently.
be around.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fine with that. But I just want to share with you all, we have this summit and we're trying to support across the lifespan because this dementia impacts all. It's just not older adults. It does not discriminate on, who gets this disease, but also we have to recognize that everyone, even our toddlers, are impacted because if they're in
Mm-hmm.
a household, if they're around, they are impacted by this. So I welcome everyone to the summit, and it's alterdementia.com. You can go there and go to the summit tab, and you can see all our information and all the things that we have going on over those 2.5 days, in addition to a concert. So Bishop William Murphy will be our gospel explosion artist on Thursday evening. So Eboni, hopefully we'll get to see you again this year.
Absolutely. Well, Fayron, Dr. Epps, we are definitely going to have you back, because I know that there are lots of other questions that people will have about this topic. I know one of my colleagues mentioned something about challenges in dating for single people while they are caregiving.
Oh, someone just called me 2 weeks ago saying, Fayron, I need you to do caregiving while dating. I said, y'all stop, because I have a course called Caregiving While Black.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all reach out to me if y'all are interested in that. So, Eboni, please do share my email address.
Well, good. Well, look, Fayron, this is the reason why you are the inaugural endowed chair in caregiver research. Now, this information that you are sharing with us, particularly as it relates to caregivers, is hugely important. Thank you.
Yes, yes, and you're welcome. And I just want to put a plug in, Eboni, if you don't mind,
Sure.
about the book that I wrote. It's From Fate to Action: My Journey Healing Communities Facing Dementia. This is a book of inspiration as caregivers, faith leaders, whoever you are, just for us to all get on this movement together and be inspired to take action and not sit back. You know, we have to come together and try to see how we can help out our community. So you can find the book on all platforms, or you can go to my website, drfayron.com, and purchase there. But I love educating, but I also want to inspire us all to take action, because I can't do this alone.
Right.
We all need to bring our skills and our gifts to the table to see how we can change health outcomes in our community. So please join me on this movement, y'all.
All right, T. So your thoughts on the discussion with Dr. Epps?
I think you guys had a phenomenal conversation, a really dope interview. One of the key takeaways that I have is I was not aware, even working in healthcare, that there were over 200 types of dementia. So I think that the differentiation is really important. And, you know, if you see a provider and they say, yes, you know, they have dementia or they have a touch of dementia, which I've heard before, make sure that you're dealing with a provider that can dive deeper and do the tests to find out which type of dementia, so that you as a caregiver or a loved one can be adequately educated and prepared. And if your provider cannot give you a specific type, I always believe in a second and third opinion.
Right.
As we know, we always have to advocate harder than anybody else. So that's my key takeaway. I think it was very informative, and we thank Dr. Epps for her contribution.
For sure. One of the things that this interview reminded me about was the fact that last year, one of my family members decided to go and have an assessment done where they took a baseline assessment of where they were cognitively
Mm-hmm.
to be able to monitor them regularly to see if, in fact, at some point there is any cognitive decline. And I thought it was a great resource, one that I was unfamiliar with, but to know that literally any of us can go and we can see a neurologist and
Right.
we can do a baseline assessment for us, so that should we start exhibiting signs of memory loss, for example,
Mm-hmm.
then we can go back in and we can be evaluated again to definitively say, yes, this is just, you know, the typical memory loss that comes with aging, or if it's memory loss that's associated with one of these dementia related illnesses.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I would encourage everyone to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
hmm Well, the Alzheimer's Association has issued a Ride 200 Miles challenge for March. And so if you're friends with me on social media, you've probably seen that I have posted something about that. But just letting you know that that is something that I am committing to, especially since it helps remind me that I need to get on my stationary bike at home so that I can
Mm.
stay healthy as well during the month of March. So join with me. Feel free to contribute or just join with me in the challenge for March for the Alzheimer's Association and all the good work that they
Such a
are
great
doing.
cause. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, let's talk about the herbal tea for this week. All right. The herbal tea segment is an opportunity for us to talk about what you all are gossiping about, but offer up something beneficial to our collective well-being. We consider it healthier gossip. So, T, what's on tap for today's herbal tea?
Well, I don't know if it's healthier, but we're going to try and pull it back around. So, last week, heavyweight boxer Jarrell Big Baby Miller lost his hairpiece, toupee, man unit, whatever you want to call it, during his February 1st, 2026, which is going to go down in history. Remember that date, February 1st, 2026, fight against Kingsley eBay. That man at Madison Square Garden. No disrespect, sir. I don't want no problems with a heavyweight boxer. But he literally split his wig. I mean, we still taking it to the white meat, a totally different context. I mean, that man knocked his hair off like it was glued down with Elmer's. Like, what in the world? What in the Elmer Fudd cap is going on at this fight? I mean, yo.
I could not believe what I was seeing on the news when I saw that. It just a little bit started coming up, and you're like, wait a minute.
And then he hit him again. They had to take women and children out the room for trauma.
And then he threw it. He threw it into the audience, and then audience members started putting it on. It was too much. It was too much. It was too much.
It was a lot. It was a lot. But I will applaud him for, making a light moment out of it instead of being embarrassed. Of course, we know he actually won the fight.
Right.
So I don't know if he just got mad and was like, by split decision, shut up. He wanted by split decision. He wanted by the hair. So, the fact that he made light of it, that he laughed at himself, I think, right, the healthy takeaway is, number one, to be able to laugh at yourself, to be able to own that you are an imperfect being, and things happen in life that we cannot predict. It was nice to see a man embrace that, right? Because women, we have hair, nail, wardrobe malfunctions frequently,
all the time.
And we get embarrassed. Many of us get embarrassed. Sometimes we can laugh it off, sometimes we get embarrassed, but nothing that I've ever had happen to me was globally witnessed. So God forbid, I hope that, we're taking in stride as well. I just remember Sarah Jake's wig was slipping back while she was preaching one time, and she just snatched that joker off and was like, you ain't think it was mine, did you? Now, back to this word. And so I think both scenarios remind us that, it's okay to laugh at ourselves because things happen. And also, to be okay with who you are. Like, this is me. Whether I have my hair, like India Ari say, I'm not my hair. And he literally was not. Yeah, so.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, people deal with hair loss all the time.
Absolutely.
Right? It's so common.
Man. The fact that he said, I used my mama's shampoo and it was ammonia. Sir, let it be. Okay. I don't know what to say about your mama having a full bottle of ammonia and her shampoo. Why you put it on and was dubbing and didn't realize it was actually frying your skin. Okay, there's so much to it. We just gonna let it ride. Sir, your man unit slipped off. Your barber is now fired. That's it.
That's it. Just, embrace who you are. Embrace the hair
who
loss.
You are.
And
And don't use Elmer's glue on your wig. I'm sorry.
That's right. That goes for men and women.
Men and women, yes. Yes.
All right. So that's the first topic. Any other topics?
Yes. I want to talk about the Grammys. Now, I know it's so much to talk about the Grammys. We can't put it all in. There was a lot of good. There was a lot of Ooh, child. But that's how we do when we with us folks. And I know in the past that we have talked about not taking away agency from women's bodies and so forth and so on. But I do want to talk about people showing up continuously, basically naked. There was literally a woman who had her dress held up by her nipples. Ouch.
Yes, that part.
And there was someone else, who showed up in a completely sheer dress and with no underwear on, no underwear or bra on, right? And then of course
Tayana
we can
Taylor's
see,
dress.
ooh,
Yes.
yes, great body,
Great
body,
body.
yada,
She
yada,
can wear it.
yada. Ugh, but still. And so I was just thinking about, how we, pop culture right now has been really digging into shows like Bridgerton. The new season dropped. We have Bridgerton, we have The Gilded Age, we have The Handmaid's Tale. So we have all of these 1900 shows that we're obsessed with, where women are literally dressed from head to toe.
Correct.
They still got the stockings on. They wearing long sleeve gloves. And men are like, can I hold your hand? Let me remove your glove first. Will you marry me? My lips are infected by your scent of beauty. And now we just walking out in the street naked. Like, who made the decision that we was going to roll with it? Like, who was the first person to come out naked? That should be historical. Who first came out naked? And everybody was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's roll with it. I'm okay with it.
That's a good question. Yeah, it just reminds me of when I was growing up, my mother used to say, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Right? So just because you can wear the dress doesn't mean that you should wear the dress.
Doesn't mean that you should. Didn't there used to be indecent exposure laws?
Or indecency? Yeah, for sure.
People used to streak. And that was illegal. And what happened when the men would, what's it called when the men would flash you, open up their trench coat and be naked? That was illegal. Now you can get an award.
I tell you, I think we are slowly moving to a place where you can't even say that those things are illegal anymore because, I mean, we see naked bodies or close to naked bodies every day. It has become commonplace.
In all venues, right? So we can't even say it's inappropriate, because if we say it's inappropriate, then we're being judgmental, right? But where is the line of okay, so we can do that at the Grammys, right? But then if we could do it at the Grammys, then can we do it at a black tie affair? If I can do it at a black tie affair, can I do it at the airport?
Right.
Can I do it at the pickup line at school, right? Because we do have some images of people picking up their children from school in booty shorts and crop top. I mean, so it's like, when exactly are we going to say, are we allowed to say, right? This is not even the place for that, right? Can we at least say that?
Yeah. And then what happens when the child shows up to school dressed a certain way because this is the norm for them or what they feel is normal dress, and the administrators say you are in inappropriate attire. Right. So we have to think about the long-term consequences of our actions. But, this is a long-standing argument, right? When we think about rap music and people being up in arms about the lyrics in rap songs, back then people were saying, but think about the long-term consequences of the lyrics in these songs. And sure enough, here we are today, and now those lyrics are very much commonplace, right?
Absolutely.
People are using that type of language every single day.
Right. And remember, you and I, and probably definitely the demographic of our listeners are of the age when they used to bleep out words on television. And now, even on the regular stations, ABC, NBC, stuff ain't even bleep no more.
That's
you just cuss on TV. I haven't, yeah. And then we're going to tell our kids they can't cuss, which is a topic we're going to discuss next week too. So you got to stay tuned, because we got a lot of good nuggets for next week.
Oh, I can't wait for us to talk about next week's topic.
Like and subscribe so you don't miss next week's topic.
Okay. That's right. Wow. All right. So this is another week that we've talked about fashion.
We talked about that dress. What is the purpose What are you doing it
Mm.
for, right?
Mhm.
Is does it make you feel good? And so you're like, I'm just going to do it. I don't care how I'm exposing myself to everyone else, or is it
Mhm.
because I'm trying to get attention, even though you're saying I'm not? I'm just doing me. Like, just what are we doing it for that you feel the need in public just to show all your goods and plenties?
Mm.
So to evaluate that as well.
Mhm. Good point. Okay. All right. Well, with that is it for today's episode. Do not forget that Saturday is Valentine's Day. February 14th every year is Valentine's Day.
It's
So if you have a
Valentine's Day.
boo, if you married, you need to make sure that you are not forgetting that it's Valentine's Day. If you are single, you need not forget that it's Valentine's Day. Go do something special for yourself.
Yes, and
Go
now we
do
have
something
Galentine's
special.
Day, which you could do
That's
with your
right.
friends. Like
Right.
Sweeties Day is coming up. Anyway, just acknowledge that love is beautiful. Even if you've
That's
been
right.
hurt, love is love. Love on yourself then.
Love on yourself.
But definitely love on
Amen.
your boo.
Right. Do not forget.
I love it.
All right. So next week, we're talking about caregiving, as you mentioned earlier. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that conversation for sure, because I know you have a ton to share with our listeners on that topic.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about cussing kids. We're going to talk about a couple of other things in our tea. You don't want to miss this episode. So
That's right.
like and subscribe.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. We know you're going to have a lot of questions and comments. We want to hear them. You agree, you disagree, you have some suggestions. We want to hear them. So send an email or a voice note to us at podcast@enjoylifemoreabundantly.com or visit enjoylifemoreabundantly.com/podcast to text us your questions or comments.
And if this conversation helped you, like it and share it with someone you love, and make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. So until next week, enjoy life.
And life more abundantly.
Cheers!
Can I go back?